So today we're gonna start making our cactus collage. And to make our collage, we actually need to work in several different steps or layers. So the first thing we're gonna do is focus on creating this painted background where you see the red going to white paint. This is also called a value scale, and we're gonna talk about that as we work today. So a value scale is basically showing the darkest a color can be going to the lightest. So you'll see behind this painted stencil, the red goes from darkest to lightest to the top. So that's what I'm gonna show you how to make using your watercolor paper today. So you'll each get one piece of watercolor paper. You'll get a tempera cake palette, which looks like this. You'll also get a water cup per table, and of course, every person needs a brush. Now, you might notice that these tempera cakes are a little bit messy, and they've been used for a couple years now. How dirty they are, it doesn't really matter, because as soon as you put a little bit of water on whatever color you want, you're gonna notice all of that yuckiness goes away. So for me, I wanna use this like purple color, but you can have the option of using, the purple, the blue, green, yellow, red. If you even wanted to do black or brown, go for it. So what you first need to do is, once you've picked your color, you need to grab your brush from the water cup and just put some water onto the tempera cake. You'll notice it's starting to get nice and shiny. That's because the water is starting to activate the paint. The first thing you're gonna do is work from your darkest color, and then you're gonna go down to your lightest. So for me, I wanna start at the very top of my paper, and once I have that color nice and saturated, I'm gonna use my brush to just gently start adding color to my paper. I'm using these long motions with my brush. I'm not doing it all crazy up here, because when my paint dries, I want it to dry nice and in these stripes instead of all crazy. So you can notice I haven't gone back to dip my brush in the water cup. That's because I don't want to dilute my color, which means I don't want my color to not be as bright and dark as it is right here. So as I start traveling down my paper, I need this color to get lighter. And how I'm gonna do that is by dipping my brush in the water and then dragging the color down. This does take a little bit of practice, so if you don't get it your first go around, don't worry about it. But as you can see, I'm just using whatever color was on my brush and dipping it into the water to bring this color all the way down my paper. So you can start to see how the color goes from a really rich purple to basically white down here at the bottom of my paper. Now, if I need to grab a little bit more paint, of course I can. I'm gonna incorporate a little bit more water. And then I always like to start back at the top if I've put more paint on my brush, and then I work my way down. That way I can start dragging the color down to the bottom of my paper, like so. So I'm gonna spend a few minutes completing this, but I'm gonna time lapse this so we don't waste our class time. So now I have my finished value scale background. This is very wet paper, so what I'm gonna do is actually ask you by table to bring it up to the drying rack so it can dry overnight. But when you bring that over, you just need to take it carefully by the edges, making sure you're not touching the painting, and bring it over. I will tell you where you're gonna set it to dry. And then all you need to do is just make sure that your table is nice and organized, put all your paintbrushes back in the water cup, and fold your folders. We will move on to the second step, which is completing this stamped background tomorrow. But first we need to make sure that everybody gets their value scales done. So that is your mission today. Good luck.